Alright, your boy is back with a brand new Monotype tier list video, just ranking all the types yet again. This is going to be a quick one. I won't go too much into depth with these, just want to make a quick one now, because there's been some discussion going on around, at least on Smog forums, about some of the people's tier list of the types. So I'm just going to make one, the Kingdom's official tier list, the only one that actually matters in the grand scheme of things. But either way, if you guys enjoy this video, agree or disagree, you know, still leave a like down on the video and subscribe to the channel for more content. Join the Kingdom, on the way to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. But either way, yeah, so we're going to start off at the bottom, because starting off at the top is gonna be pretty uninteresting to anyone that actually does play the metagame. But for the people that don't play the metagame, we're gonna start off at the bottom in the D tier, aka do not use. The D tier is pretty much reserved for types that just suck, and there's no saving graces for any of these types. They hardly beat anything. No one would actually bring them in a serious game. If you actually wanted to win a tournament set against anyone competent, you wouldn't bring any of these types, because they just don't do anything. Now I'll pair them together. We have electric and we have grass. Rock is not D tier, and I'll explain a bit later. Again, not trying to go too much into depth with this. I want this to be a quick tick in it. It's like 12 AM. But yeah, electric and grass are like people are saying Ogerpon does not carry grass enough for it to actually be higher than D tier. It really doesn't beat anything, other than the occasional water, which it still struggles against, and it does have a decent matchup against ground. You're probably one of the best types for beating ground, but pretty much everything else just you lose to. You lose to bug, you lose to dark, you lose to dragon very easily, you lose to fairy. You lose to every single typing, other than ground. Why would I want to use grass? There's no saving graces for grass. Even if you want to use a type that would beat water and ground, arguably you still just have dragon, because dragon is ridiculous right now. And sure enough, we're gonna have you know, tier in action regarding certain types on dragon, certain mons on dragon, but that's besides the point. Grass is just bad. Electric is also in the same position. It just lacks. The issue with electric is that you actually have good mons. Iron Hands is a very solid mon, and you know, does a lot versus a lot of typings like dragon and fire. It's just bulky enough and does enough damage for it to just be one of the best mons on electric. But electric doesn't really have anything other than that. You really struggle to beat anything else. Even against flying, which should be one of your best matchups, you struggle a lot because of the fact that you have no spammable removal options. You just get spike stacked by Skarmory, and then, you know, you just get outplayed by either a Gliscor or a Landorus T, for example. Electric doesn't even beat flying. It arguably can't even beat water properly. I will say it beats rock, but rock is a C tier type, so that doesn't really matter. And again, electric, you're just not loading it in because it just doesn't beat anything. To be fair, Iron Hands will give dark some trouble. At least you can say that for electric. But yeah, 1 out of 18 types, so good. But yeah, that's the D tier. Starting off C tier, we do have rock here, and rock is good. And for anyone that actually puts rock in the same tier as electric and grass, clearly just doesn't use the type, because I saw Mushami on forums talking about how rock just doesn't beat anything. I'm just I have hundreds, I actually have passed the hundreds mark on using rock or on the high ladder, and I'm just rock actually can beat stuff. Watch my rock laddering video and you'll just clearly see that rock can actually beat shit. I have multitude of replays to suggest that rock can actually beat even ground if you actually just outplay the opponent. And to say, and if your argument is I'm facing scrubs, sure, Azix is a scrub at the end of the day. That's what you're basically saying. But yeah, rock ain't B tier. Don't get it twisted, rock is still a C tier type. It still gets 6-0'd by fighting and steal very easily. Isn't good against water. Dragon with Archaludon now is a pretty big struggle, and obviously ground is always going to be an annoying matchup for it. But to say that rock only beats fire is kind of insane. It beats bug, arguably can beat dark depending on your comp, and rock can pick and choose certain types that it can beat with certain comps, because Diancie, you get 1 defense boost on a Diamond Storm versus Chien-Pao or something, or even just body press. Gambit can't kill you at +2 defense, and you just kill that shit back with body press. You obviously have Draining Kiss for Sableye, so having a Diancie rock team, you beat dark. Dragon gets a tad bit easier, even against Fairy. I've had my close games versus Fairy, and you know, it is winnable, but like you still have to kind of outplay a little bit. You can beat flying you can beat flying pretty reliably. Just play around Ogerpon, Skarmory, like pretty much just get rid of Skarm, and flying is just a 6-0. Ghost as well, like Garganical gives that trouble. Like Rock just actually can customize certain matchups in order to win, and like it also just can beat Poison and Psychic as well. So like to say Rock can't only beats Fire in the metagame is just false. And like if you actually build the type properly, it'll be okay. Anyway, onto the next C-tier type. I'm gonna put Bug here as well. Like these two are obviously just the bottom of C-tier. Bug, again, not a type I'd load into a serious game. Only good thing Bug has going for it is, you know, just beating Dark. Again, it just loses to the rest of the typings very easily, but Bug is pretty popular because, you know, it has like the best set of Wink on like in the whole of competitive Pokemon in Volcarona, and still has some decent ones like Scizor as well, but those two aren't really going to save the type, to be honest with you guys. So yeah, another C-tier type I have to put down here is Normal. Normal is interesting. Like I do feel like Normal has potential. Definitely has a lot more potential than Rock and Bug. I think Normal's just the anti-HO type, and can definitely mess up some of the other types as well, but other than that, like it really is only held together really by like Hisuian Zoroark and Blood Moon Ursaluna, which the latter is pretty crazy as a Pokemon, but you know, everything else is just kind of lacking on Normal, and it's not a consistent type to be laddering with at all. Arguably I'd put like Poison here as well, like, well, I don't know, like B is gonna be hella inflated, but I'll just put Poison here. I'll see how it feels at the end of the tier list, but I'll put Poison in here because like what bulky shit just doesn't work. Like, I'm sorry to say, like Poison's like entire archetype just doesn't really work in this metagame, I feel, and yeah, like I'm not seriously gonna load Poison because like that shit loses to Dragon, it loses to Ground very obviously. Steel will probably always beat Poison as well. Like you can easily just play around Sneasler, to be fair. Like all of the top types just shit on Poison, and like there's no reason for you to actually load it. Like you can load it into Fairy maybe, and like you'll probably get off, but like it's just not a consistent type to load because all the top types just kind of beat it. So that's why I'm putting it at the top of C. Now moving on to B tier. Again, I'll probably start off with Psychic here, actually. I do think Psychic, again, is probably one of the harder types to use, but it could definitely pull off some stuff with it. Spaffra, I think, like on paper, Spaffra is a pretty broken Pokemon. So like Psychic has always just been overlooked a little bit because Dark usage was like pretty much like half the teams you're facing were Dark in previous metagames, but obviously other types, you know, started picking up, you know, on viability, so Dark isn't as omnipresent as it used to be before. Again, you know, Bug is a shitter type, and you know, Ghost is uncommon as well, so Psychic pretty much has a decent time if you actually get a decent matchup as well. Like against Ground, against Dragon, potentially Fairy and Water, like you will just have a good time, like assuming you can actually get like mons like Espathra up. And like I do feel like the versatility of Psychic teams also helps out as well. You have like good breakers in Hooper Unbound, you have decent defensive core with Jirachi and Slowbro, even Galarian Slowking as well. So I do think Psychic has the tools to get around some of the other types as well, and yeah, that definitely puts it up in B tier. It's not a type I use often, but it's definitely one that probably isn't in C rank because it actually won't get shit on by the top types that easily. Ice as well probably goes here. I do think Ice with Bax, and to be fair, I might put Ice in A, but I do think Ice is probably at the top of B just because Bax, Chien-Pao, like Bax is a crazy mon, Chien-Pao's also a crazy mon, and like you just get Veil up, and it's just very hard to actually stop those two once they get up a Dragon Dance and SD respectively. Even without those two on the team, you still have things like Kyurem. Like having the additional Kyurem, things like a Alolan Sandslash for consistent hazard removal option. The Steel typing is also pretty handy defensively as well. Ice really only gets like shot on by like Fire and Fighting, I suppose. It's also one of the best types into Dragon as well. Ground. So yeah, it does have a pretty decent type matchup as well. Also pretty solid into Flying as well. So overall, like Ice does get the job done, and like it is nowhere near C type. C tier type in my opinion. If you're putting Ice in C, I'm gonna have to question what you're actually doing in the metagame at large. But yeah, I'm gonna put Ghost in B as well. Obviously Ghost is probably better than Psychic. Ghost has Flutter Mane and Dragapult. Like, Ghost has a lot of cracked Pokemon, so obviously it just has to be in B. It's consistent sometimes, but it's definitely not as consistent as the other A types. I do feel like Ghost can do some stuff. Again, like, you have Flutter Mane, Cerulege, you know, Spectria, Dragapult. Like, you just have a lot of strong Pokemon, so obviously it can just work out there. I'll also put... I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably putting Water in B as well. Like, Water just really struggles to have like a consistent comp. Like, I don't know, it just feels like it is missing something. Like, I play Monotype Cap Water, and like, Water's just like, in Cap Mono, Water goes from being like average to just being like the top type, and like, it's because you actually have like a solid, like a really solid defensive core. You have like Argonaut with Unaware, you have Snailstorm with the Poison, he'll recover. Like, you just have good defensive mons with reliable recovery that also just don't die that easily. But I just feel like in SV, the spinners are just like, you have Kokwavo, like, and it's just a weird mon in general to fit on Water, so it just ends up being boot spam, and like, it is just somewhat sort of passive. But at the same time, you still just have, Water still has pretty solid offensive capabilities. Like, Specs Gren is gonna really just delete a lot of typings on its own, just because Protein is a crazy ability to have in Monotype, where you just get Stab being able to hit other types super effectively that, you know, aren't weak to Water. Like, you have Ice Beam for flying, you have Extra Sensory for poison, you have Dark Pulse for, you know, Ghost and Psychic type Pokemon, and like, yeah, like, you have good offense. But I just feel like in practice, like, Water just kind of struggles against the top types as well, so that's why it's kind of fallen out of favor for me, in my opinion. And then I'll probably put Fighting in here as well. Some people are saying Fighting is C tier, but I can't really see it. You still just have mons like Zamazenta kind of just going ham, but like, and it also has a good dragon matchup. Like, a lot of dragon comps now are running mons like Archaludon, or running, like, you're running double steel, you're running Curum, you're running Bax. And you know, all of those mons are fighting weak, so fighting obviously benefits from that a lot. It's good against dark. Actually can play around Fairy decently well. You know, you have Banded Zamazenta with Heavy Slam, you have Iron Hands, Assault Vest, which is taking any, you know, special attacking Fairy move and just Heavy Slamming back. You also have your own Valiant as well, which helps out in the Dragon matchup. And yeah, I do think like it also pairs well decently into ground as well. Like, you have your own Great Tusk, which can kind of wall the physical attackers as well, and obviously you have a pretty solid steel matchup as well. So like, I do feel like Fighting is pretty much B tier. I'd probably put Fighting like here, to be honest. I think this is pretty accurate. And then the A and S, I'll just slap these guys in pretty easily. Dragons in S, obviously. I would also put I want to put Fairy in S, probably Steel. I'll put a Dragon and Steel in S, and then I'll just put Flying at the top of A, Fairy, followed by Dark, and then I'll put Fire and then Ground at the bottom. So yeah, I'll just explain these quickly. Dragon is simply the best type in the game right now, has a lot of really bonkers Pokemon, and I feel like what pushed Dragon over the edge is that you actually have, like, Dragon is just very easily able to cover his weaknesses. Like, Dragon's only weak to Dragon itself, you know, Ice and Fairy, and obviously Dragon mirrors. It's not like you have Mega Altaria, so you kind of just have to do whatever. But when you're trying to consider the viability of certain types, the mirror matchups are like, you know, less significant, but like, it obviously means a lot more for Dragon because Dragon is weak to itself. But at the same time, you know, Dragon got like Archaludon, which I think is a pretty solid addition. Having a Dragon Steel type that isn't as passive as Hydra, has significantly more defense, and also has an ability to boost that defense even higher, just makes it pretty solid. You have Gouging Fire, which, you know, covers Ice pretty solidly, and Fairy, and yeah, you still just have the same ones you're running before, like Garchomp, Baxcalibur, Dragapult, Roaring Moon. Also got new additions in Latios as well, so if you are worried about fighting kind of killing you as well, you just run a Latios or Latias, and you know, life is good. Steel as well. Steel is just Hazard Stack, Skarmory, Kingambit, stupid Pokemon, Goldengo, like just the same defensive shit, like, except with Poison, which actually doesn't threaten anything because it's basically almost like semi-stall slash stall, and you're actually not threatening anything. Steel has your offense offense and the defense to work at the same time, and it's like pretty hard to get off the hazards once they're up. And like you're probably thinking boots is like still relevant, but not everything is running boots. So obviously Scam can just get off 3 spikes, Goldengo blocks it, Kingambit SDs, Heatran, Chaladon, like just the whole, you know, steel thing. It just does whatever. Flying is still probably one of the best types, but I don't think it's as high as Dragon and Steel in my opinion. Still kind of does the same thing as well, just has a lot of strong Pokemon offensively and defensively. Fairy, Screens, Azu is a crazy mon, also checks Dragon. Dark is still Dark. Dark will never drop below A, or unless like you just ban like Chien-Pao plus Gambit, which would be a pretty nice timeline to see, to be honest. But you know, I'm just saying. Fire has Ogerpon, Gouging, Fire, Sun. Not much else to really say about that. Like Fire offensively is so strong because you're only resisted by Water, Rock, and Fire yourself. And Dragon as well. And Dragon, to be fair, is going to shit on Fire all the time, but pretty much every other type is just fair game. And like you have really strong Pokemon in Ogerpon and Gouging Fire. And then Ground, ever since Drill came back, you know, Sand Ground kind of came back, and you know, it's just pretty solid offense to have. So yeah, this is the Kingdom's official Monotype tier list. Pretty quick one. I tried to get under 15 minutes, but we are at like the 16-minute mark. But yeah, Rock is not D rank. Use the type more, you know, actually build with it. You'll see that like Ladder of Grass and Electric, and please tell me if you make it even above 1500 with like 70% GXE. I really want you to get there without above 70% GXE. Is impossible. But yeah, that's all I have to really say. Let me know down below what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.